Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C, the podcast where we dive into stories and success, uncovering lessons learned and the insights gained by leaders and innovators. I'm your host, Sonia, and today's guest joining us is Erika Beeson. Erika's story is one of transformation, from navigating through various paths in search of her true calling to embarking on the most epic journey of self-discovery, which not only saved her sanity and marriage, but also led her to live a life that truly lights up her soul. She's here with us today, offering unique perspectives, motivating, and insights. Let's get started. Hi, Erika. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm so great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for our conversation. Before we get into that, do you want to just tell our audience a little bit about you? Who are you? What do you do? Everything they need to know.
Absolutely. My name is Erika Beeson, and I am a 43-year-old single mom. Um, and I have honestly been a startup junkie for a long time. Business and building and creation and challenges just have called to me since I was 18. It's just kind of been in my blood. And I think one of the things that I've really come to understand is that challenges really are sort of my bread and butter. They're what fuel me, whether that's in the office, in the workplace, at home, or even out on the mountain, because I am an avid trail runner and hiker. That's some of the things that I really love to do. But I have found that there are a lot of struggles, whether that's, coming up against a barrier in the workplace for whatever reason, or our own personal mindset blocks. There's a lot of things that we could all help and support each other with a little bit better. And that's honestly where my passion has come in and why I'm so excited to connect with you and your audience today.
Awesome. I love it. So let's get right into it. I don't like to waste time. So you shared about a pivotal moment when you decided to break the cycle you were in for 10 years and embark on a journey of personal development and self-discovery. Can you take us back to that day? What was the catalyst that propelled you to take such a significant leap?
Absolutely. And I guess we'll jump right into being just a little bit vulnerable here, but here we
That's what I do.
absolutely. I had been kind of in a tricky pattern of trying really hard to, you know, please my bosses or, the people in charge at the organizations that I was working for, pleasing my partner, my husband at the time. And I really was kind of stuck in this cycle of people pleasing where I was trying to conform myself and put myself into a mold that made the other person or the organization happy, so that I could get my gold star. They could give me my big gold star, to a point where I just really lost myself. I lost my patience with myself and those around me. And the moment that it really came all crashing down was a day that, and I share this story in my book also, but it was a day I had just got done kind of losing my patience with my daughter in a not pretty way. And I went into my bedroom and I felt so awful and guilty. I just started crying. And I went into the bathroom to get a tissue. And when I looked in the mirror at myself, I didn't recognize myself.
Wow.
And I realized that I had really just been trying so hard, spinning my wheels to fit into a mold that wasn't mine, that I just didn't even know who I was or what I wanted to do really anymore.
Was that a part of was that a buildup of all the frustrations that you were going through?
Absolutely. It was a buildup with being kind of unhappy in my career, not feeling fulfilled in my career. Um, not being with a partner who kind of understood or supported that entrepreneurial spirit in me. Felt like
Mm,
my dreams kept getting squashed. I kept feeling like I wasn't enough.
yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So, you're on a mission to empower others to live a life on their own terms in is truly inspiring. For someone feeling stuck in their current path, what initial steps would you recommend they take to start moving towards a life that feels more authentic to them?
It's a tough one right now, especially in this day and age. But the very first thing that I recommend to everybody is basically to go on like a digital detox.
Mm,
take about a week and separate yourself from anything that's an input. Like do an input inventory, get off the television, get off Netflix, get off social media, get off, no offense, but get off podcasts, get off everything for a week
Wow.
and just really start to learn to listen to your own inner voice and your own intuition again. We are inundated daily with so much information from every single where in our hand, at our screens, notifications 24/7. We're starting to forget to trust ourselves.
So I'll use myself as an example of what you just said. So if I want to take a, social media device detox, what are the things, besides just sitting with myself and staring at the wall, because I don't know what else I would do. What can people do to, I know, right? What can people do to replace that, device?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've got three big ones for you.
Okay.
First and foremost, spend some time decluttering your home. The reason why is we hold on to so many things that honestly energetically weigh us down and we don't realize it. You don't need that band t-shirt from your first boyfriend in high school. Like, get rid of all of these
I
things.
do.
You're like, wait, but I do. Clearing out that energy makes space for more things to open up. Reconnect with nature. Get outside, get grounded, do what you need to do to be aware of your surroundings rather than so focused on, the to-dos and the busy, busy, busy. And then the other part is to actually reconnect with your body. So whether that's just scheduling a 20-minute walk every day, maybe you get involved in some yoga. For me, meditation actually really connects more with my body than it does with my mind because it just makes me present. But
Mm.
incorporating some new practices that are keeping all the focus on your energy, your space, your intuition, your own mind, rather than I'm going to go for a walk, but I'm going to listen to, this music or this podcast that might be adjusting my compass to like what I really want. It's really
Yeah.
easy. For some reason, we just think everyone else knows what's better for us as I'm sitting here telling people what to do. But it's one of those things
True.
that you've got to really listen to yourself and decide, is this advice in alignment with me or not?
So how do hobbies play a part in this? Is it something that people should do, like pick a hobby, something that they're doing so that they're not so focused on their device? What's your advice on that?
Absolutely. I'll bless her heart. I'll use my teenage daughter as an example. She played competition soccer for years, and then it got a little intense, and she decided to take a break. And in that break, she became pretty focused on her device. She doesn't have social media. I don't allow that, but just,
Hmm.
involved in like whatever. And, it got to a point where I wanted her to make a shift. She was ready to make a shift. She tried out a few other things and she's actually really fallen in love with tennis of all things. And so exploring things, taking that time away from a device to actually develop a skill or try a new hobby, it's honoring yourself. And that's like self-care on steroids, in my opinion, because you're developing yourself. And that's really what we're here for. That's really what we're here to figure out.
Yeah, so let's talk about work and leadership and entrepreneurs and all that stuff. So, you know, especially if you're, a founder, an entrepreneur, you're on your devices, email, all that stuff all day long. And it's so hard to disconnect because you might miss, a lead that could really blow up your business. And I get what you're saying about disconnecting, but realistically, between you and I, being an entrepreneur or founder, completely disconnecting is going to be stressful. It's actually going to probably cause them more stress than good. So, is there a balance? What advice would you give to someone who sort of is going through that process and they'll get stressed out just thinking about not being connected? What can they do that's balanced?
I love that question. And there's a couple of things that quickly come to mind. Obviously, opportunity cost, right? If you blocked out time to go get a massage and you miss the opportunity to, hop on a podcast or take a call or a meeting that could really blow up your business, that's a huge loss. So there is kind of this balance that has to be obtained. And I think it has to be somewhat in flux because if I did have a meeting opportunity that was at the same time as my massage self-care that I had scheduled, I would cancel the massage and I would take the meeting. But then I have to be committed and disciplined enough to make sure that either later in that day or the next day, I'm finding that time. Because if
Mm,
I just am undisciplined enough to actually continue to push that off, I will eventually reach burnout. And
yeah,
I think that's a shift in the perspective of entrepreneurship, and that people think they have to be so disciplined to like grind and grind and grind.
yeah.
You have to have the discipline to have the balance. Otherwise, your home life could fall apart, your family life could fall apart, your body's gonna your body's gonna fall apart. The older I get, the more I realize if I don't stay moving, I get, that stiffness sets in, and
Everything hurts after your 40s.
yes, it does.
I feel like my body's been hurting for years now. It just the minute I hit 40, that's it. It was my finger, my knees, my toe, everything.
Yep, load the dishwasher wrong, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So, um, uh, my next point that I was going to make, just a follow up to what you said, was so self-care is really important, and I'm always I love watching you know social media, self-improvement, things like that, and I'm always a little bothered by those younger people that are going online and saying they wake up at 4 a.m. and they exercise and they do cold plunges. And I'm not a morning person, but I get up every day at like 6, and I have my routine. But like the first thing I do when I get up, once I wash my face or take a shower, I have coffee. Like I don't exercise in the morning. I don't go for a 20-minute walk before I go to the office. So I always feel really guilty that I'm not that person. But then I'm like, I need 8 hours of sleep. So what do you say to people that feel like that's the standard, right? And then they're pushing their bodies and themselves to be that, the 5 a.m. club. Is that really realistic for everybody? And what do you say to people that feel like that's the goal that they have to reach and they have to get there?
And I will absolutely loop this back to what I said in the beginning is that especially now with social media, we will see these trends flood our feed, right? We will see these trends just flood it and we're like, whoa, if it's working for everybody, then like it's that trend that we almost feel like compelled or almost sucked into. But I
Hmm.
really think that's where it comes down to kind of cutting that cord a little bit and remembering like I've tried a cold plunge. I don't like it. I have Raynaud's. It sets my Raynaud's off so bad. Like it's just not for me. And if it
Mm,
works for somebody else, great, but it's not for me.
yeah. So
Some
you sort of
people,
have to be in tune with yourself and understand your body and its limits.
yeah, and realizing we are our own unique individuals. If you do better sleeping in until 10 and then you grind from like noon to 8 p.m., that's your like genius hours, do it. Who cares if someone says you have to be up at 5 a.m. and go for a jog and then have your, whatever
Your
steel cut
smoothie.
oats breakfast?
I have to admit, I was jealous of those people for a little while, but then I'm like, no, that's just not who I am.
Yeah, and we are all our own unique individuals. There is no one size fits all story for success, not one bit. There's a chapter in my book that talks about your own internal compass and what you need to do to be
Hmm.
able to make sure that the other things are not pulling at your compass needle to take you off your own course. You're the only one that knows what your own course needs to be.
Yeah, I like that. So throughout your journey, you've encountered challenges that have taught you invaluable lessons. Could you share one of these lessons and how it has shaped your approach to helping others?
Gosh, you want me to pick one? I'm just
Your
joking.
favorite.
Oh man. You know, some challenges that I've really faced. Gosh, sorry. And I started going through my list of challenges because the end result of this question was how that's shifted me into what again? Sorry, repeat that for me.
Yeah, no problem. So, could you share one of these lessons and how it shaped your approach to helping others?
Mm, absolutely. Thank you. So, one of the greater challenges I think that I experienced is honestly when I was going through a divorce. I felt so alone, and I felt like I didn't have, I don't know, I would go to talk therapy and it was really, really helpful. And they provided me with some tools that were great for survival. But I felt like I had reached a point in my quote unquote healing where I needed more. And I didn't know what I didn't know. Like I didn't know what tools were out there because I didn't know how to find them or what to do to get them. And so really once I did come across some of these new techniques or these new tools, these different ways to approach a problem or a challenge in life, it was that moment where it just clicked for me that I thought, I don't want anyone to have to take the long road like I did. I don't think there's necessarily a shortcut in healing, but I think there are tools and processes that can get you to a better place faster.
Mm,
And when I finally had all of that click, I just thought, if we can shorten that hardship period, that suffering, if you will, period, that's what I want to help other people do because life is short. We don't
yes.
have time to live it that way.
So tell us about your book.
Ooh, absolutely. So my book, it is available on Amazon. Honestly, I just have to tell this really fast because you'll laugh when I tell you this. I actually never, ever, ever in my life was like, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to write a book. But basically, what happened is I ended up breaking my hand in like a freak indoor soccer accident. So I couldn't do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. I had all this downtime and I just started writing. And then it
Okay.
just started coming out. Anyways, long story short, some friends of mine that read it just to help me kind of, edit, they were like, you should really publish this. You should publish it. So I went for it. I self-published, and it's called The Renewal of You. And it really is focused on the fact that we do not need to change who we are. We just have to uncover all the layers of crap that we've built upon ourselves to try to fit into wherever we think we're supposed to fit in based upon other people's expectations. It's not, it's a quick read. It's not an overly heavy book. There are a lot of great practical and tangible resources in there. And there's a couple spots where I'm sure you'll laugh and cry. And it really is kind of my passion project.
Oh, I love it. So you're a self-described nature junkie, am I right?
Absolutely.
How has your connection to nature influenced your personal development journey and your approach to empowering others?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I grew up running around in the foothills, where I live in the mountains, and grew up camping, and everything outside was always where I wanted to be. It's where I felt free. It's where I felt like I could be who I wanted to be. I could let my imagination take over. There weren't rules like there were inside the home. Um, and as I've taken that into my adult years, I always find so much clarity in nature, especially in the mountains. Going up above the city, getting out of the chaos and the noise is where I can find the most clarity. And believe it or not, as I'm, running through the trails, I feel like I receive these downloads almost, or like these sort of like metaphors of different things that I see as I'm running that really are applicable to not only my life, but lessons that I work with my clients through coaching to really help them kind of understand that connection or to look at a problem a different way.
Hmm.
But truthfully, I don't know how much research you've done into the actual physical changes that your body experiences through grounding, through putting your bare feet on the soil or the grass. It's wild, and I encourage everybody to take advantage of that, even if you really don't enjoy like bugs or dirt or whatever, just do it.
Yeah, I live in the city, but I actually bought like a grounding mat. And at the office, I take my shoes off and I have it like on the floor. Because like I grew up on an island as a child and then I moved to Canada and now I live in a city. But I did actually look into some, I was listening to some podcasts and this one guy was just talking about the benefits of grounding. And I was like, man, I remember when I was a child running around with my bare feet. Like it was just fun. So I actually even have a grounding sleeping mat that I use just because I'm like, anytime that I can, I will like take my shoes off and run around on cement or soil. when I go visit my mom who lives out of the city. But that is one thing that I have applied to. It is so funny you mentioned it because I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that. But
Do you love it? Did you notice a difference?
I do. I sleep better for sure.
I love that.
Yeah, but I've always like I think prior, after I went through a breast cancer diagnosis and my head was so full of stress that I had a really hard time sleeping. So I've had to do like a lot of sleep therapy through the years. And at one point I was like completely dependent on melatonin to sleep, which was really hard to get off of. So my whole sleep has been a journey for me. And the grounding, that was one of the reasons why I got the sleeping grounding mat was because I thought maybe this is what my body needs to get off medication and start sleeping naturally. And I will say that now I don't take as much medication. Sometimes I will take something to like just help my mind shut off because I that's my problem. I have a hard time shutting my brain off and just telling it to shut up at the end of the night.
Yep.
But since we're talking about brain, let's get into that a little bit. What do you say to people like me who are so focused on a million different things? And when I say a million different things, it can be a startup, it can be work, it can be being a mom and cleaning and working and picking up the kids, it can be going through a disease. Like, what can we do? I get we can, turn off our devices, but like, what about our brain health? Are we focusing enough on that?
I love this question more than you even know. I'm going to tell you why. So, um, and then I'll kind of talk through like a practical step, but um, I'm also a master coach of neuro-linguistic programming. And
Oh,
that is essentially like how our mind processes things and how our mind functions. And uh, gosh, this is like a lot to unpack. Let me summarize. So we all have our own primary representation system, which is essentially how we receive information and how we process it and what happens in our physiology and our behavior because of that.
hmm
And I think when we get the opportunity to understand that a little bit more, and there's actually, some exercises and processes that are super easy, for people to learn what their primary rep system is so that they can better understand themselves. Think of it as like a personality test, but for your brain, like to understand what your brain is doing and how it's functioning. Um, it allows you to adjust some things, and it can even be small things that will help you sort of manage your thought processes or manage your strategies. That's what we call it in NLP, but it's kind of in essence habits. And it will allow you to actually make specific changes to help you streamline, to help you not feel so scattered. In correlation with that, I have really working on this still because I'm like you, I have a bajillion tabs open at one time. I said to hell with the to-do list, and now I time block my calendar. And that's also helped me not only be more disciplined in my physical time spent, but my mindset in, okay, I'm focusing on this one thing for just this next 45 minutes. Okay, we're done with that, focusing on this next thing. So that's for me changing my strategy physically after I've already done the change work through NLP techniques that really shift things dramatically for people, especially in my opinion, entrepreneurs and women. We tend, no offense, gentlemen, but we have a tendency to have more tabs open at a time.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's ooh, I could go down a big old rabbit hole there, but that we'll
I
leave it
love
at that
it.
for a moment.
I love it. No, that's great. I think it's really important for people to, we always talk about like our mental health, but a lot of that does have to do with our brain. And I find as well, like it's something I personally struggle with was brain fog. And just, I don't know where it was coming from, if it was because I was going through a health thing or if it was just stress. And it's just something that like I had to do my own research to figure out how to go about it. And I will say lion's mane has really helped me with that. But there's just so much that happens physically in our body when we're dealing with all of these things, whether it's work related or starting a business. I mean, starting a business is a big deal and can take on a lot of stress, but I don't think people are prepared for that part of the journey. People know that, hey, I'm going to have to hustle and I'm going to have to, go, 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 go. But are people thinking about the physical aspect on their bodies of what that's going to mean?
It's intense. I mean, years and years ago, I think it was, I don't know, 15 years ago or something, I opened a brick and mortar business and I went into it just like, I'm gonna open a business, you know. I had no idea. I mean, you sign up, you're married to that thing. It is a lot. And I would love to tie back into the fact that to me, sleep is king. Like if you or queen, however you want to look at that. But if you are not, if you're burning the candle at both ends to the point that your sleep is suffering, everything else, domino effect, will suffer in general. And, whether that becomes, we're talking about age, if that's a hormone thing, if that's a perimenopause thing, if it's
Yeah.
a health scare thing, if your nutrition is not in check, if you're deficient somewhere, it's all like everything is so delicately designed. And I think sometimes, that hustle culture gets us stuck in a hole we don't want to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like social media especially makes the hustle culture sexy, and it makes it look like that if you're not hustling, then you're, not doing the work, or, like comments like get your butt out there and work. Like, hey, I am working. Stop just because I'm not you. Like you said, like you made such a good point where we just have to learn where we are and pick at those layers, and we don't necessarily need to change ourselves to be like other people and have the work ethic that other people have. We can still get things done by being us, right? That's essentially what you're saying in a nutshell, I guess.
Absolutely. And it really boils down to the fact that I kind of said there is no one size fits all formula, but every single one of us is our own being. And the recipe that designed me, there's a unique recipe for my success, which may not be the same recipe for your success or anyone else's, because we aren't the exact same. And I just feel like there's so much out there that's like, here's how I built my business, do exactly what I did and you'll get there. And that may work to a point.
Hmm.
But again, if you're not the 5 a.m. wake up club, then that schedule starting at 5 a.m. isn't going to work for you. So just tweak it. So that is one thing that I do encourage a lot of entrepreneurs as well. If you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for someone to teach you and guide you on your journey, make sure that they are not blinders on my way or the highway type of a mentor. They've got to be able to meet you where you're at.
I love that. That's such a good point because a lot of people get mentors and they just feel like they have to do it exactly the same or they're not up to par.
Yep. And again, that comes back around to listening to your intuition. Is this person the right fit for me?
Yeah.
Just because they have 2.3 million followers and who knows how many testimonials that may or may not be real.
Hmm.
Um, you have to listen to yourself and decide.
Yeah. So in your coaching practice, tell us is there a common theme that you find, and how do you help people through it?
Absolutely. And I think it's just based upon my messaging in general, but um, with my one-on-one coaching, which is separate from my corporate trainings and coachings, um, for the most part, the common theme that I bump into is people who are just so buried in expectations.
Mhm.
My parents wanted me to go to school to be this, or my partner wants me to look or be a certain way, or I think I need to look like Susie at the gym. So I'm gonna, do all of these unhealthy things to try to look like her. And it just becomes this really vast cycle of not understanding yourself, not listening to yourself, not trusting yourself, and honestly, not loving yourself. I don't really like to jump. I don't focus any of my coaching. I shouldn't say any. I don't focus much of my coaching on self-care. It's really more self-discovery because as soon as you understand yourself better, whether that's, from an NLP mindset perspective or something different, and realizing that you can actually stand on your own 2 feet. You don't have to be tied to all these expectations that are either cultural or religious or whatever. That's
Mhm.
where you obtain your power back. So just people who've lost themselves, lost their power, that's the main theme.
And as you're going through your coaching program with them, what are the biggest takeaways that you find that your clients have, and how does it make them feel?
Honestly, the biggest takeaways are probably, gosh, there's two or three different ones. I think I'll answer the end of your question first. Basically, what happens is they come to realize a sense of self-empowerment and happy in their life as it is that they didn't think was possible. For
Mm,
example, a client who's stuck in a relationship that doesn't seem to be working, but really when we kind of peeled back the layers and unpacked a bunch of what else was going on, really she had a fantastic relationship and a fantastic life. There were just other things that were causing her to think the relationship was the problem. Um, so being able to kind of understand the root of the problem rather than focusing on trying to put band-aids on all the symptoms.
yeah.
That's really where we get to the bottom of it.
Okay. And we're coming up on time, but before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you one last question for our listeners who are on their own paths of self-discovery and seeking to live life more authentically. What advice would you give them to remain tenacious, especially when faced with setbacks and doubts?
I love that question so much. Thank you. And I think when we think about what tenacity actually means, right? I think the actual definition is basically being able to like hold on to something with determination or, be really firm in your determination about something.
Mhm.
As focused as you might be and as tenacious as you might be towards a goal, whether that's a personal goal or a work goal or something of that nature, be as tenacious in getting to know yourself.
Mm,
Everything else will fall into place. If you're willing to take that same effort and drive, despite what anyone else is saying or naysaying about what you're doing, just turn that same focus and energy back onto yourself and watch everything fall into place.
wow, that's powerful. I really like that. I mean, that was not what I was expecting you to say, but I really, really like that. And also, before we wrap up, can you tell our audience how to reach you, where to find you? Tell us a little bit about your coaching, and if someone is interested in reaching out, tell us where they can find you, all those wonderful things.
Oh, you're so sweet. I would be happy to. So my standard one-on-one coaching, you can find more information on my website, which is mindfulhealingmethod.com. Additionally, my corporate trainings, which focus a little bit more on NLP and communication in the workplace, can be found at pivotingyourpotential.com. Similar Instagram handles. I'm sure we could list those maybe in show notes or something, but
Well,
I would love to connect. I do have a 90-day program in my one-on-one coaching that launches. I'm actually relaunching it here pretty soon with some additional content that has not been available previously. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, and then of course I mentioned, my book is available on Amazon. You can just search my name, Erika Beeson. It should pop right up.
okay, so really quick, can you tell us a little bit about these new things that you've developed that you haven't done yet? Am
Absolutely.
I allowed to ask that question?
Of course. Yeah, we can blow the lid off of it. We'll give
Yeah.
the audience the sneak peek for sure. So previously in my 90-day program, which is called Reignite Your Life, and it does actually focus along kind of the same theme we've been talking about today, and that's in my book. And previously that program was what it was. We won't even talk about what it was, but I've taken that and actually applied a lot of the NLP techniques that I've become certified in over the past year and a half because it's an incredibly lengthy certification and training.
Mm,
So there is even a deeper dive into a lot of the things that people get stuck on. Being able to, change your strategies inside of your mind, understanding how you can actually communicate with betters other. This is saving relationships, workplace scenarios, and really allowing you the opportunity to understand. And this is kind of the crux of it. I really am just part of this mission is to get people to understand that, oh, that's just how I am. I don't know, I just do what I do. That's not the case. People forget that they have the power to change what's going on here, which is what affects their behavior and their physiology. So we take a really deep dive into ensuring in my new program, my updated program, that you're getting your mind right to get your body right and your soul right. So it's just a whole lot deeper.
Yeah. So you just made me think of a question that I have to ask. So, like, for CEOs or people who are on the road to becoming like leaders and have teams and people under them, like, how critical is it for, if you want to be a CEO, you get an MBA. That's sort of like the industry standard, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, shouldn't, if you want to get to that point and you're going to have people under you and you have to treat other people well and take care and make sure other people are happy, and you have to also make sure you're happy. Do you advise that, like, especially since this podcast is dedicated for founders and entrepreneurs, like, do you advise them to, yeah, go get an MBA, but also get something like your course so that you can learn how to deal with all of the stuff that sort of comes along with running a business or being in business, but that you're not, prepared for in a school or an MBA program?
Yes, that's what I like to say. You got your book smarts and you got your street smarts, right?
Yes.
MBA will get you your book smarts, and then other things need to get you your street smarts. I actually, in my corporate training, we do team trainings, but I also do leadership trainings. And the reason why is because it needs to start from the top down. If the leader can understand the communication preferences, of everyone underneath them, right? And then everyone else in the team is trained on the same. It is trickle down. And I can't even express the amount of success and productivity that comes with my trainings. The companies that I've done these trainings for, it's a massive shift because now you're understanding how the person that you communicate with on a daily basis prefers to be communicated to. And also you aren't, you're understanding how they communicate better. So things aren't getting taken personally. There's more detail in the communication. You're not losing sales. You're not having customer churn. You're able to actually recruit the right talent to have the right team to get you where you need to be. So absolutely, it is trickle down. I 100% would recommend some kind of training like this for leaders.
Hey, I love it. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to share all of your information in our links once this podcast goes live. So please feel free to reach out to Erika and learn all about this. Erika, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was a topic that I could talk about for hours and hours. So I feel like you should come back and we should talk a little bit more about this and bring up other topics. I just think that it's so valuable for people to understand that life is not just about work life balance. It's not just about business. There's a lot more that goes into it. And I don't think we're putting enough, there's so much emphasis right now on mental health that I don't think people understand what it really means to take care of your mental health. And that it starts with like your body and detox and like social media detox and things like that. So I just absolutely love this conversation. It was so much fun.
Oh, same. Thank you so much for having me. It was so great.
Yeah, thank you. And that's a wrap. Erika's story is a testament to the power of tenacity, the beauty of self-discovery, and the joy of living life on one's own terms. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Leave a review and tell me what topics you'd like me to explore in the future. Remember, the future belongs to those who embrace change and innovation with tenacity. Keep striving, keep innovating, and most importantly, stay tenacious in your pursuits. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to bringing you more inspiring conversations in our upcoming episodes. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, remember to chase your dreams with tenacity.